Hi, my name is Kate. I'm also known as Two Little Kits. This is my latest FlossTube. I have a few things that I've been working on that I want to share and quite a lot of things that I just want to chat about, so let's get started. I'm going to start this fortnight's FlossTube with works in progress. On that, I still haven't finished anything. I know that I kind of promised that I was going to have something finished by this FlossTube. I just have had a crazy 2 weeks, which is not in a bad way, so that's a good thing, I guess. So there is only two things that I've really touched on this fortnight. I was sort of going through all my works in progress like I usually do to work out to myself had I worked on this, to share anything of value. And yeah, I'm pretty sure I've only worked on two things. So the first one is Pretty Little LA. I have finished the green that you can see all through down here, and I'm now working on a second green in the tree up here, which is in like other places as well throughout the pattern. It was tricky to keep track of all this green down the bottom here, I have to admit, but I'm really liking how it's coming out with that sort of base line, I guess, to put it that way. A fun fact, and I will intend to take a photo of mine and my mum's, because my mum's here, like I talked about in the last FlossTube. She is actually working on this piece while she's here, and I'm doing mine on 18 count and she's actually doing hers on 14 count. And it's pretty cool to see a really big pattern like this. She's not as far along as I am, but it is cool to see the same pattern done in two different sizes, and I will endeavor to overlay this voice over thing with a video, or at least a photo of this compared to hers. She stitches in hand, so that will make it a little bit easier to do a comparison, but it looks really cool to see, to see it in two different sizes. I certainly wouldn't want to do it twice just to show off the different sizes personally. But yeah, so that one is happening. I'm still super frustrated with this hoop, I'll be honest. I unfortunately have been reminded that I have a little stain down here that I'm gonna have to work out how to get rid of. I'm honestly, so wobble with the camera. Honestly, if it doesn't touch any stitches, I'm potentially gonna bleach it, because this is white fabric. And I've done that before, and it is scary, but this will have been a set-in stain, honestly. And I'm not brave enough to tell you how it happened. It's nothing like gross or anything like that. It's just embarrassing because I did a stupid thing. Anyway, so that's that one. And the other work in progress I have is this mammoth that you will have seen in the thumbnail. This is the Haunted Library Stitch Along. So when I last showed you this, I had just started stitching it, and it was like this little bit here, that was all that I'd done. But now it's all of this, so this has like been what I have been working on basically. Whenever I've picked up stitching, I have worked on this. My aim was to make sure that I get through all the black before the first like installment is released, and I don't actually remember when that is. Give me 1 second. Okay, so it's soon actually. Chapter 1 of this is released on August 26th, which I guess that's like not that close. It's less than 3 weeks. I'm thinking like it was much further through August than it actually is, but I will be surprised if I don't finish the black. I'm almost done. I've missed a step here of the black, and then I've got the end, kind of what you see here, but on this side left to go of black. And I've done the black parts of the little ghost kitty. How cute is this ghost kitty? And my sunlight's disappeared slightly, but it's very cool to see it appear. I'm still pretty bummed and annoyed with myself that I'm doing it on 14 count, but it is gonna look really cool. It's all like creased because it doesn't fit in its entirety in my Q-snap. This is my Q-snap. I have the little extension bits here and here that I talked about to make this into an I'm so bad at visualizing inches. I think it's 8 inch. I don't know. I think it's either 8 or 11. I can't visualize that. But yeah, as you can see, like if I hold it up like that, you can see it doesn't hold the whole thing in it. But that's okay. It just means that I have to shift it. So I did like all this side, and then I did these 2 iron bars. So like pretty much where half of the pattern was, I did all that, and then I shifted it and I'm working on that side now. So it's pretty cool. And there is, 1 second, there's 14 more colors just in the starter piece. And because I can show you, because it's cool. This isn't all of it actually, I've got some of it in the car. This is all the little scrappy pieces that I've got from it. Which I'm gonna put in my art jar now actually. So I've got this big wad of black in my art jar, which it is struggling to focus on. There we go. But yeah, my art jar is coming along nicely. It's not as packed as it was this time last year, but that's okay. So yeah, it's happening and I am enjoying it. That is the main thing. That's the main thing. Enjoying what you're working on. Otherwise, what's the point? But as you see, I'm actually folding the top of the fabric. There's all this stuff up the top here, like there's room. The top row, like the 0 point, is all the way up here. So there's gonna be a lot. But it'll be cool. I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that each week's installment is not too much, because I found that with the Animal House, even though it was every 2 weeks, each part was just too big for me to keep up with. So I've got my fingers crossed that this one will be a little bit more manageable. Anyway, those are my works in progress for this last fortnight that I'm aware of, or can remember, basically. I did actually go to a new craft store and I picked up some haul I'm just faffing about with down here. I got all of this. Hang on, I'm speaking too soon. And I've got a hair in it too. So I'm working on the black of that haunted library. So I've gone through a whole skein of black just for that, and I'm at least 1/3 of the way through this one, if not half. I find it really tricky to figure out how much is left just by looking at it like this. But I got all of the colors. These are all of the colors that are in the pattern. Honestly, I'm like kicking myself because I should have bought more black. I've run out of the black that I had up here, and the box that I have of other extra flosses, I went through and I don't have any more black. So I'm gonna have to go back to the craft store. But anyway, I got all these, and isn't that a gorgeous palette? Look at that. It's so pretty. It's very gothic, which is perfect because it's a haunted library. But my point is, I went to this new craft store that I have been meaning to check out for ages. And I went with my youngest daughter and my mum because she needed to get a bunch of floss, like 3 times as much of this basically, because she's Australian and floss over there, she told me that it was almost $3 a skein, Australian dollars obviously. And over here, the cheapest I've seen it lately is 62 cents, which is like massive difference. So she stocked up basically. Anyway, this tiny little hole in the wall kind of place, it is the most magical place that I have been to in a long time. It is small but very cramped and has so much cool stuff in it. And they had boxes of floss, like the DMC. You can buy this little rectangle box of this one color, and I'm kicking myself because I was there and I'm like, I should get a box of black. I did actually, my intent was to get a cone of black, and I asked the lady working there, and she said that they didn't have any. They didn't stock them in anymore because they didn't sell very quickly, but she could order one in. And I'm like, that's really tempting, but part of the reason, and probably the biggest reason, is just bragging rights. So I said no. Anyway, I will definitely be going back to this place because they had so many cool things and like so many different brands of floss, and they actually sold the thread conditioner that I use. Like, I've only ever seen this on the internet, but they had all these types of sizes of Q-snaps, like the brand Q-snap, and they had those bars of like a standalone bar for big projects where you actually like wind the two bars and it moves the whole project up and down. They had those things, which I've never used before, and I don't really have a need to because I don't do anything. This is like the biggest piece that I've ever worked on. They had so many cool things. And I did get a new fabric. I got a 25 by 22 black 18 count of fabric. I wanted to get charcoal, or like blackboard or something, just like an off black, but they didn't have any in 18 count that I could see, and they had linen like that, and I don't really like stitching on linen personally, so I got that because I got a second pattern from the business that is doing this stitch along, and it's gonna look so sweet on black because I can tell because the actual designer has stitched it on black, but it's like this little mushroom fairy garden kind of thing with a little snail. I like the sizing of it on 18 count, which is just under 6 inches square, which is perfect. So yeah, I got some fabric too, and that one will happen at some point. I've got a lot of works in progress right now, so I can wait. Yeah, I got a whole fistful of floss and some fabric. My daughter bought some floss. I had to rein her in because she was picking all the floss that was like $6.95 per skein, and it was like half the amount of of thread that like a DMC floss would have on it. Yeah, she was wanting to go nuts, and I'm like, no, slow down. Another work in progress, or a few works in progress, and I guess a finished piece now that I think about it. So first the finished thing, I did a custom pattern for a friend of mine. She really liked the Perfectly Imperfect pattern that I did, that I released a while ago, and she really wanted to stitch it up for, I think, her niece. I'm probably wrong there, but she wanted it, instead of flowers, to be mushroom kind of themed. And I'm like, certainly, I can do that. So I know that I didn't talk about this last FlossTube, but I think I gave it to her before last FlossTube. But I keep meaning to share the digital finished stuff and digital works in progress. So yeah, I did this pattern and she loves it, and I'm hoping that she ends up stitching it sometime soon, and I can see how it comes out. Another not really finished piece for me, but I was reached out by a library in a different state in America. I cannot remember, and I apologize, but I am going to link to them. I'll either add it as like a little caption-y thing or whatnot. But they reached out to me because they really liked my sunflower seeds pattern that I did in support for Ukraine, and asked me if they could use a small part of the pattern to create cross-stitch kits for their library patrons. And I thought about it for a while, and I was like, I talked back and forth with them a little bit, and they're not selling them, and I said that they needed to link back to me for it, but otherwise I said yes. And I found out late this past week that it was all done, and that they had like printed out the pattern pamphlet and stitched up their little test sampler, and I asked them if they could send me some photos for me to be able to share online. It looks so cute, and it's really cool to kind of see an idea that I had as this, it's kind of morphed into this other living, breathing thing. I don't think I'd do that with any of my paid patterns, because this was a free pattern. Yeah, I don't know how to explain it. It felt a bit different than if someone was saying, oh hey, I bought your pattern and I like this part of it, and I want to take it and make it my own and then sell that. Like it's not the same to me, so don't get ideas, people. But no, it was cool to see someone else's creation of a thing that I started. You may have seen on my Instagram, or if you've just been to my website recently, I finally released a new font. It is called Kathy, and it is a cross-stitch only font. Like, you could do it for like embroidery stuff, but when I say cross-stitch only, I mean it only uses cross-stitch. It doesn't have any back stitching. And I have gotten really good reception from it. It's been purchased some amount of times, I can't remember, but I keep seeing little notifications pop up for it, which is awesome, and I can't wait to see it being used. Basically, I see Celeste being used constantly, and Alison and Daphne not as much, but still quite often I see them on people's finished pieces, and it's very cool. I'm looking forward to, hopefully someone will send me a photo of a piece they've done using it, because that always like just gives me warm fuzzies. So if you're watching this and you do buy it and use it, please send me a photo, and I always like to share people's use of my fonts. So I hope you like it, and I do still have 2 fonts like happening right now. The next one is going to be a backstitch font. I have now caught up in the alphabet, which is cool, because I just did K and my first free font started with L. So I'm now all the way through A to N. So the next one is going to be an O name, and then most likely it'll be Olive, but I'm not sure. So we'll have to just see. But it is like 99% confirmed that it'll be a backstitch only font, because that style was a bit more requested than cross stitch font. Anyway, it'll be exciting. I can't wait to get more stuff on my website. As I said, I have some more fonts in the works. I have patterns in the works constantly, and right now I am kind of focusing on creating my first temperature pattern. If you don't know what that means, I don't know this for certain, but I think that it started out as a knitting and crocheting thing where you do a temperature blanket. So basically you would do one row as one day, the high temperature of whatever location you're working from, and you pick a certain color within this like key that you've either gotten from the internet or made yourself. And yeah, so that one row, if it's a really hot day, then it might be red. And then you just do one row every single day and you make this long blanket, and they look amazing because it's just a gradual color change. If you're in the northern hemisphere, then it would be from cold to hot to cold, and vice versa. If you're in the southern hemisphere, it goes hot to cold to hot. They look really cool. I've never actually finished I did start designing my own cross-stitch temperature pattern, and it was not ever intended to actually release. It was, I was going to make this for myself because it's not pretty or anything. But that was when 4 years ago. But this time I'm actually doing a interesting pattern, and I'm very excited about it. I have talked to some stitchy friends of mine, and I've talked to like my mum, and I've asked my husband for his thoughts as a non-crafty person. And yeah, I'm excited to get this piece out. I'm hoping that it will be ready before December, which is, when I say that, you might be like, oh my God, that's so much time. What are you talking about? That's crazy. But like, it's gonna be a big pattern because it's supposed to cover an entire year. So when I say before December, I'm still looking at the calendar like, ugh, that's like 3 months of designing and then putting together the actual pattern like PDF, and that's not a lot of time. But I'm fingers crossed. I've been saying this to myself sort of this time the last 2 years that I want to do a temperature pattern. Hold me accountable, internet, please. It'll be cool looking though, I really hope. And I have an idea of a similar but different pattern from it already, even though it's barely started-ish. So that will be exciting. I sat down with my mum a couple of days ago and did a informal interview kind of thing with her. I asked my Instagram followers in my stories to send me ideas for questions that they might find interesting, and I got quite a few questions, and that was really cool. I think there was only 2 that kind of were the same thing, just asked differently. Yeah, it was, I haven't started editing it, and I actually have no idea how long it took. I haven't looked at the finished file. I just copied it straight from my camera onto my computer, and that was it pretty much, because I was in a rush to get to my daughter's speech therapy, I think, or something like that. Yeah, hopefully you can hear us. That's what the thing I'm worried about, because my mum, I think she was nervous. So if you're watching this right now, Mum, I'm sorry if you were. But I have a feeling that maybe we'll be very quiet. I don't know. So I might have to do some magic on the audio. Hopefully not too much, because it'll sound a bit tinny and wonky. But that was cool, and felt like I should have prepared a lot more. I was just like, I don't know how these people do interviews. As soon as I pressed record and sat down, I'm just like, hi? Anyway, what else has been going on? I've been talking with a lot of people on the internet about new orders, which is cool, which is also scary when I look down here at all of the stuff that's happening. That I'm not doing a very good job of prioritizing my time, I'll be quite honest. But anyway, with more orders comes more pressure, and I know myself well enough to know that if there is more pressure to do a certain project, then it will get done. So I'm not concerned. I have a couple of people who are chatting with me about placing an order, which is great. I just wish that there was some kind of way that I could know for certain that these people 100% are going to place an order, so that I could set expectations for other people. I know this is a common problem, not just for people who do embroidery and cross stitch and just like needlepoint commissions. This is a common problem for anyone that runs their own business. But oh my gosh, I just wish that, like, if you haven't run your own business, you don't understand, honestly. And that's like Most people don't run their own business, which is fine. Not everyone should. That would be kind of boring for everybody. But I feel like somehow everybody should have the knowledge and understanding of how stressful it can be when you don't know what to expect, where money is going to come from, and what the future is going to hold regarding your prior promises. Does that make sense? Because 2 is okay. Like 2 people actively talking to me right now about orders is okay. But I was just planning on doing my own Christmas in summer kind of thing. Not Christmas in July because it's August already. But a like, how do I put it? Basically just a way that people can do ornament-sized stitch people pieces with lots of time to prepare. Like these would be, I gather all of the information on these orders within a week from today, for example. They all pay up front, but they all have the knowledge that all of these pieces are not going to be delivered until like the 1st of November. Like there is a long turnaround time, but it will 100% arrive before you put up your Christmas tree or whatever it is that you want to do with the ornament size piece. And so like I was really close to getting this all organized and pushing it live and promoting it, and now I'm in flux. Yeah, it's a little disheartening, but it's also kind of fun, I guess. Some things that have been happening just IRL. As I mentioned, my mum and her husband are currently here visiting. They've only got, as of today recording, they've only got 4 more days before they fly out, which sucks. My oldest daughter is like super sad about it already. She keeps like questioning why do they need to go kind of thing. Which is lovely as well because she's loved having them here and doesn't want them to go. But they can't stay. They've been super helpful. It's been awesome to have extra adults around the house. Like just being able to go downstairs after putting the kids to bed and being like, oh, you know, we gotta tidy up the kitchen or whatever, and finding out that someone else has tidied it up. It's like, it's magic. It's crazy. And my mum enjoys folding washing, and that is like my least favorite thing to do ever. So it has been awesome having our washing put away very quickly. Yeah, it's been nice to just catch up and just chat with her, and because I hadn't seen my mum in almost 3 years, and it had been well over 3 years since I'd seen her husband, and that includes like them seeing my kids. Like they wouldn't have seen them earlier because they're children. 3 years is half of my youngest's life. Like she's a very different little girl than the last time they saw her in person, you know? So it's been very nice, and we still have to deal with the crazy schedule that is a kid with special needs and everything that entails. So we haven't done a lot out of the house, unfortunately. I'm hoping to make up a bit of that this coming week, and we made up a bit for it this past weekend, which was good. Yeah, it's been nice. So that's awesome. In a similar reason, I guess, I have been trying to take more snapshot videos. Does that make sense? So like sub 6 second length videos of things that are happening just around me. And I did pretty good this weekend, which was good. I need to do more of it just around the house, I think. I'm kind of doing it as a way to compile days or weeks depending on the video. And so I actually just uploaded the one that I did, or the snippets I did from yesterday's outing, and it was I'm really happy that I've done that, because it's not just these still images, it's kind of like a little story to at least me. I am a very visual person, as you may or may not have realized, but I also have a really bad memory, and I rely heavily on photos and videos to reminisce on. So I often go through my Google Photos to look at what was happening 6 years ago in my little family's life, for example, and seeing what is saved there triggers all the memories of things that have happened in that like general time frame. So with saying that, because I'm now doing more videos, I'm having a lot of trouble figuring out the best way to store all of these videos with the intent of turning them into reels and things like that. So when I say that, I mean storing them not just in the cloud, but like physically at my computer, so that I can then take them into an editing program and work on them that way. Because I have a paid account for Google One, so that's like Google Drive and Gmail and Photos and all of that kind of thing. But it's all in the cloud, and so when I want to use it, it's got to download, and I can't just necessarily work on it from that cloud version because it's slow sometimes. And I don't know, what I'm getting at is, if you've got any suggestions on video storage systems, please leave a comment below. I'd like to know. That isn't necessarily just go and buy terabytes of storage on a portable hard drive, because I have that already and it's kind of almost full already. So because I do this and I have so much trouble letting go of the original files, because what if I need to use it? Oh my gosh. It's a little bit frustrating. I frustrate myself a lot. The last thing that I wrote a note about to talk about was an update on my broken toe issue. It's been well over 9 months now since I broke my toe. I got an MRI done weeks ago, and I got the results for the MRI, and I'm pretty sure it was within the last 2 weeks. I might just check before I go into that. Yes, okay, so it has been less than 2 weeks since I got the results. So I didn't want to repeat myself, basically. My whole, it's not just my toe now, we're talking about my foot. It is in a much worse situation than we anticipated, which, yay. Basically, there's 3 things that are the problem. The first and sort of most important thing is that the toe that I broke, and asterisk, I will remind you that it wasn't just broken, it was like exploded inside my toe skin meat area. That bone, like the tip bone, is chronically fractured. So it has not healed properly, and there are hairline fractures everywhere. And that's why it hurts when it gets slightly bumped, which makes so much sense, you know. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the tendons that, like if this was my foot, the tendons that run from along the top and along the bottom towards my toes from my ankles haven't healed properly, because I've been walking differently, both from just trying to not hurt myself, but also the orthotics that I was given. They are fatigued and causing issues. It's like making my toe like bend up slightly, which I could see visually, but I just assumed it was because of swelling. So that's the second thing. The third thing is the ball of my foot. So again, if this was my foot, like this is the big toe that I broke, these are all my little toes, this is the ball of my foot. The bones in here, they've like shifted slightly, and that's why I'm feeling a lot of pain in the joint of my toe rather than just where I broke it. It's misaligned, and that's another reason why it's like pulling up slightly. So I have to get surgery, which, as I said to my doctor when he said that, I don't know whether I'm glad or sad about that, because I went into the appointment not knowing which one I would prefer, being told either I would need to get surgery or it's okay, you just need to keep waiting. So the surgery that I'll have to get is a bone graft to help the hairline chronic fracturing, and a readjustment of the bones in the ball of my foot. And then the tendons should apparently resolve with the healing process of the surgery, basically. That's what I'm told. That's booked in for the first half of September, unless I can get in earlier on someone else's cancellation from a surgery, which I'm kind of hoping for. I really just want to get this over and done with. The healing time is supposedly 6 weeks, but I was told 6 weeks when I broke my toe. Oh, my background just changed color. I'm gonna try and make it darker. There we go. Yeah, I was told 6 weeks when I broke it, and it's been a bit more than 6 weeks now, so we'll see when that happens. But yeah, so that's a thing, and I've been wearing my moon boot quite a bit more lately because it just hurts more and more day to day lately. I have to change what I'm doing with martial arts more and more. I'm having to like alter forms and things like that. Thankfully, the cycle we're doing right now is a lot of punching and like blocking and that kind of thing. It's not kicking, and it's not, yeah, using my foot anywhere near as violently as it was before. But the silly thing is, like, when I was doing all of that, it wasn't hurting anywhere near as much as it hurts like right now. Bodies are fun, and getting old is fun. Yay. So keep your fingers crossed for me with that, and I don't know, send me positive vibes. I'll take whatever. But I think that is everything that's kind of going on. That's everything I wrote notes for, at least. I always do this at the end of a recording. I'm like, what else was there? But I'm now looking at the little time up there, and I should stop. We got to figure out dinner as well. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you end up getting the font that I released. That would be awesome. Let me know if you're excited about a temperature pattern. That would be super awesome, because I always want to know when someone's going to use a thing that I have designed. And until next FlossTube, I will see you around the internet. Bye.